Adeline's POV. Dad, please come pick me up in 1 week. I'm ready to marry Creighton's heir like you wanted. I whispered into the phone, my voice shaking. Mary? Honey, what are you saying? Aren't you married to Ethan? My dad asked, confused and worried. Not anymore. I'm getting a divorce. I choked out, tears filling my eyes. Tell Mom to start the wedding preparations. Before he could say another word, I ended the call. The phone slipped from my hand and hit the floor. My whole body trembled as I buried my face in my palms. 2 years ago, I thought I was living a perfect life. Now I know it was all a lie. 3 weeks ago, I was in a terrible car accident. My car was hanging by the edge of a cliff. I was 9 months pregnant, bleeding, terrified, and alone. At the hospital, the doctors called my husband to get consent to operate. 99 missed calls, but no response. Then finally, on the 100th try, he answered. Adeline. Ethan's cold voice came through the phone. Why are you so desperate for attention? I told you I have a meeting. Stop bothering me. Before I could say anything, a woman's voice sounded beside him. Ethan, honey, hurry, let's go to the party before it's over, she said. That voice. I knew it too well. It belonged to Clara, his first love. 6 months ago, she returned from London crying, bruised, and begging Ethan for help. She said her husband had abused her and that she had nowhere else to go since she was an orphan. Ethan didn't want her near him at first, but I begged him to forgive her. She needs help, Ethan, I told him. Please. You can't turn your back on her. Reluctantly, he agreed and helped her process her divorce. I even convinced him to let her move in with us. 3 months ago, she told me she was pregnant. She said it was her ex-husband's child, and I believed her. I took care of her like a sister. I cooked for her, drove her to her doctor's appointments, and watched her belly grow, never knowing I was nurturing my own betrayal. The call ended, and I stared at the phone with tears blurring my vision. My hands pressed against my stomach, trying to protect the life inside me. But it was too late. Because of the delay, my baby didn't survive. I went into a coma and woke up days later in a hospital bed. And just when I thought things couldn't get worse, I overheard Ethan's voice outside my room. Mr. Morales, the doctor said, sounding frustrated, I can't keep her in a coma anymore. Her life is in danger if I keep inducing her. The stem cell transplant surgery has already been done, and Clara has recovered. It's only fair Adeline wakes up now. Fair. Ethan snapped. If Adeline wakes up now, she'll find out I caused her accident just to get her stem cells for Clara. I need her unconscious until Clara gives birth to my son. My heart stopped. So all this while, I'd been taking care of Clara and her pregnancy, feeding her, helping her, loving her like family, not knowing she was sleeping with my husband, pregnant for him, and stealing my life behind my back. The doctor gasped. Mr. Morales, that's not possible. She could die if... I don't care. Ethan shouted. You've been paid enough. If you ruin this for me, I'll ruin you. I pressed my trembling hand against my chest as silent tears rolled down my cheeks. The air around me felt heavy, choking me. My husband, the man I loved, had tried to kill me all to save another woman, and not just any woman, but the same one who abandoned him at the altar 3 years ago. 3 years ago, he climbed the highest building to end his life, and I saved him. Now this is how he repays me, by destroying my life and that of my unborn child to save his first love. What a cruel twist of fate. When they walked away, I reached for my phone with shaking hands and called my lawyer. Mr. Heiress, I said, my voice flat, prepare the divorce papers. I want them signed before the week ends. I hung up and let the phone fall onto the sheets. Feeling pressed, I dragged my weak body out of the ward as my legs trembled. As I stepped into the hallway, laughter drifted from one of the rooms nearby. Frowning as the voices were familiar, I moved closer, my heart pounding with dread. Through the half-closed blinds, I saw Ethan sitting on the edge of a hospital bed, brushing Clara's hair away from her face. She smiled up at him, her hand resting on her swollen belly. You did it, Ethan, she whispered. Our baby is safe. He leaned down and kissed her forehead. He's worth everything I lost. My breath hitched. I pressed my palm to my mouth to stop the sob that tried to escape. Everything I lost, those were his words. I turned away, trembling, my vision blurring as I stumbled into the bathroom. The fluorescent light buzzed above me as I gripped the sink, staring at the woman in the mirror. I looked pale, hollow-eyed, and miserable. The door opened, and Clara's reflection appeared behind me. "Why are you hiding, Adeline? Don't you want to take care of me and my baby now?" she asked in a mocking voice. I ignored her and splashed water on my face. "Get lost, Clara." Clara pouted. "That's not a very nice way to talk to me, Adeline, considering I'm the one who's been making all the decisions around here." I finally spared her a glance. "What do you want? Is it because you're pregnant for my husband? You're nothing but a whore I took pity on and helped." Clara's face scrunched up with anger as she smiled. "I know that, Adeline. I'm grateful you brought me into your home, which is why I want to show you a picture of your cute son before he died." I scoffed. "What nonsense are you talking about? My son died even before he was born." Clara giggled. "Oh my, didn't the doctor tell you? Your son was perfectly alive after he was born, except you slipped into a coma, so you couldn't see him." My heart lurched. Are you joking right now?" Clara brought out her phone and showed me a picture of a newborn baby boy. Tears gathered in my eyes as I stared at him. "He's so perfect. Oh, my sweet baby boy. He has my eyes." I cried. Clara grinned. "Yes, such a beautiful boy." "Where is he?" I demanded. Clara smiled wickedly. "See, that's the issue. Your son was too perfect, and I couldn't have anyone contending with the position of my son as Ethan's heir." My throat closed up as I stared at her. "What do you mean, Clara? What did you do?" Clara shrugged. "Nothing. I just simply pointed out that the child's stem cell would be a perfect fit for me. The doctors advised Ethan that your child might not survive the procedure, but he insisted, and unfortunately, your child died. I mean, that's what I wanted, but I didn't know your husband would." I lunged at her, shrieking like a wild animal as I clawed at her neck. "You monster! You killed my child!" "Ethan, help me!" Clara screamed. The door flew open. Ethan stood in the frame, eyes wide for a heartbeat, then hard. He crossed the room in 2 long steps and yanked me by the hair as he flung me across the bathroom. The world titled. Pain flashed across the back of my head as I tasted blood. "How could you?" Ethan yelled at me. Rage bubbled inside me as I glared at him. "She killed my son. Both of you. You attacked a pregnant woman. You don't deserve to be a mother. That's why your son died." Ethan interrupted me sharply. A whimper escaped my lips as my throat constricted from his harsh words, but he barely spared me a glance as he carried Clara bridal style, leaving me in a pool of blood on the bathroom floor. I sat up on the bathroom floor, and then it dawned on me that Ethan only cared about Clara. In 7 days, I will leave. But I won't go quietly. I'll make them regret ever hurting me and my child. Adeline's POV. When I opened my eyes again, I was back in my ward. The smell of disinfectant stung my nose, and my head throbbed. My body ached as if I'd been dragged across broken glass. The doctor was standing beside my bed, writing something on my chart, his face pale and stiff. "Mrs. Morales," he said quietly, not looking at me, "if something like today happens again, you might lose your womb." I stared at him. My voice came out rough. "How much?" He blinked. "Pardon." "How much did he pay you to steal my stem cells and kill my son?" His pen froze midair. "Mrs. Morales, I don't know what you're talking about. Don't lie to me," I said, my voice shaking. "You did it. You helped them. Now discharge me before I make you regret it." His shoulders sagged. Without another word, he handed me the papers. I signed them with trembling fingers. "You should really stay a few more days," he murmured. "I'd rather die than spend another second here," I said coldly. He lowered his gaze. "Please be careful, ma'am." I didn't answer. I grabbed my things and walked out. My legs were weak, but my anger was stronger. When I reached the mansion, the same one I gifted Ethan on our first wedding anniversary, my chest tightened. I had chosen every color, every curtain, thinking this would be the home where our children grew up. Now it felt like a grave. I pushed the door open. Laughter spilled from the living room. Clara was curled up on Ethan's chest, her swollen feet in his hands as he massaged them gently. A bitter laugh escaped me. I remembered asking Ethan once to massage my feet when I was 7 months pregnant. He had thrown $10 on the table and said, "Ask a maid. I don't do dirty jobs." Now he was doing that dirty job with a smile. "You two look cozy," I said, forcing a smile. Ethan's hand froze. He pulled away from Clara, his face tightening. "What are you doing here? You were supposed to stay in the hospital." "Why?" I asked quietly. "So, you could keep pretending I don't exist?" He glared. "Don't start. Clara is pregnant. You're supposed to take care of her, not cause trouble." My throat burned. "You kill my child for her." "Enough," he snapped. "If you weren't so unstable, maybe your child would still be alive." The words slammed into me like a blade. I couldn't breathe. I turned away before he could see the tears in my eyes. "Don't worry. I'll be gone soon." Upstairs, I stopped outside the nursery door. It used to smell like baby powder. I had spent nights painting clouds on the ceiling, laughing as Ethan teased me for being too detailed. Now the door was half open. I pushed it wider and froze. Everything was gone. The crib, the stuffed toys, even the blue curtains I had sewn myself were all gone. The walls had been painted pale pink, with a name I didn't recognize written above the crib, Baby Jared. My heart cracked. I stepped inside and saw my baby's ultrasound photo on the floor, the glass shattered. I knelt and reached for it. "My sweet boy," I whispered. A sharp heel pressed down on my hand. Pain seared through my skin as glass bit deep. Clara's voice came from behind me, sweet and cruel. "Oops. Did I step on something precious?" I looked up at her, shaking. "What is wrong with you?" She smiled. "Oh, don't be mad. Ethan said I could take over this room since, well, you don't need it anymore." My hand bled onto the floor. "Istut, glaringe her. You're a monster." I stood up, cradling my bleeding hand, and she gave me a mock pity look. "Oh my, are you okay, Adeline? Why would you hurt yourself because of me? You could have just told me to leave the nursery room," Clara said in a loud voice as she began sobbing. "What are you saying?" I asked her in a confused voice. "OMG, Adeline, stop hurting yourself," she shrieked. I was still staring at her confused when Ethan appeared in the doorway and saw me cradling my bleeding hand. "What are you doing now?" he asked me in a bored voice. "I didn't do anything. She's the one." But Clara interrupted me. "I'm the one who made her hurt herself, Ethan. She got upset that you asked me to take over the nursery." I stared at her, shocked. "But that's not what." "Enough," Ethan snapped. "I don't want to hear your crazy stories, Adeline. I've tolerated your bullshit enough." Just then Clara picked up a customized diamond necklace. "Ooh, this is so pretty, I want it," she said. "No, that's my..." The words were hardly out of my lips when the necklace fell from her hand and broke. I stared at the broken pieces of my baby's customized diamond necklace picture. That was all I had of him left. "Oops," Clara whispered smugly. I stared at the broken necklace pieces, the diamonds glittering under the light like tiny tears. It was the only thing left of my son, a diamond necklace with his ultrasound etched inside a crystal pendant. My breath caught. My knees hit the floor. "How could you? This is the only..." "Adeline," Ethan said, voice flat. "Don't start again. Clara is pregnant. She can't be stressed." Clara sniffled dramatically and clung to him. "I'm sorry, Ethan. I didn't mean to upset her." He cupped her cheek tenderly, right there in front of me. "It's not your fault. Besides, it's just a necklace." "Just a necklace?" I had customized that necklace specifically for my son. I pressed my bloody hand against the floor to steady myself. "It's not just a necklace, Ethan. That was the last thing left of my son." Clara's lips twitched, almost smiling behind his shoulder. "Poor thing. Maybe she should get therapy, Ethan. She's been unstable since the accident," she whispered, loud enough for me to hear. "I don't need help. I just need you to stop taking what doesn't belong to you. I snapped at Clara. Maybe Clara is right, and you need therapy, Ethan said. Just as he finished speaking, 2 bodyguards entered the room and held me. What is going on here? Let me go, Ethan, I cried, struggling against the guards. Ethan crossed his arms. You've lost control again, Adeline. You need help. I don't need help. She's lying, I shouted, turning to him with tears in my eyes. You can't even see it, can you? She's using you. Clara sniffled and wrapped her arms around her stomach.
Ethan, I'm scared.
Please don't let her near me. What if she hurts the baby next time? That did it. Ethan's face hardened. Enough. Take her to the hospital for therapy now. Ethan, please, I begged. You're sending your wife away because of her? He didn't answer. He just turned his back and walked away, his hand resting protectively on Clara's waist as if I were the danger. The guards dragged me out while Clara's trembling voice followed behind, mockingly. I'll take good care of your husband while you get the help you need, Adeline. I screamed her name, but the door slammed shut before I could reach her. Adeline's POV. The first thing I noticed when I woke up was the cold. I was strapped to a narrow bed in a white room that smelled of bleach. A man in a doctor's coat stood beside me, humming softly as he checked a syringe. Where am I? I whispered. He smiled without looking up. Your husband said you needed help. Don't worry, Mrs. Morales. I'm here to fix you. The needle slid into my arm before I could speak. My head spun, my tongue heavy from the drug. I tried to speak but couldn't, my wrists fighting uselessly against the straps. The doctor glanced at me. Don't worry, we'll make you feel better. Just relax. He pressed a button. Pain shot through my body like lightning. I screamed. Sure, he said softly. It's part of the treatment. For 2 days, I lost track of time. My body ached from the shocks. My throat burned from crying. Every time I begged to go home, they injected me again. I heard the nurses whisper when they thought I was asleep. Clara said not to leave marks, one murmured. Pity, the other replied. She paid so well. That was when I realized that Clara had arranged a torture session for me and pretended it was therapy. By the second evening, I couldn't even cry anymore. I just lay there, staring at the ceiling, waiting for it to end. When the door opened, Ethan walked in later that night as I'd been discharged. I thought I'd cry or shout, but I didn't. I just stared at him, unable to say a word. He frowned. You look terrible. It's only been 2 days. Only 2 days. I didn't reply. I didn't have the strength to. I just kept shivering from the cold weather. It was raining heavily outside. Let's go, he said flatly. Clara's waiting at home. She needs me. Of course she did. He didn't even help me stand. I followed him silently, each step burning through my legs. In the car, the silence was unbearable. The city lights blurred outside my window. I stared at my hands. I was trembling and cold, but he didn't spare me any glance. Then his phone rang. Clara's voice came through the speaker, trembling and soft. Ethan, please come home. The baby, something's wrong. He's not moving. Ethan's hand tightened on the steering wheel. Without a word, he pulled the car to the side and unlocked my door. Get out. My head snapped up. What? I said, get out, Adeline. Clara needs me. You're leaving me here? His eyes met mine for a second, flat and cold. You'll manage. The door slammed, and the car sped off, splashing mud across my skirt. I stood by the roadside, shaking in the rain, watching the red taillights fade away. I tried to cross, but my vision blurred as headlights flashed, a horn blared, and then everything went dark. When I woke up again, I was in another hospital bed. My body hurts everywhere. A dull pain pulsed deep in my stomach. A doctor walked in quietly, his face grim. Mrs. Morales, he said, you're lucky to be alive. But we had to perform an emergency surgery. The damage was severe. I'm sorry, but you've lost your womb. My world stopped. I stared at him, my lips trembling. What did you just say? He lowered his eyes. There was too much internal bleeding. You won't be able to conceive again. My breath came out in shallow gasps. The monitor beside me beeped rapidly as tears slid down my cheeks. A knock sounded on the door. Clara stepped inside, dressed in soft pink, her hands resting gently on her round belly. "Oh dear," she said, feigning sympathy. "I heard you had a little accident. Such a shame about your womb." She tilted her head, smiling. "But look on the bright side. Now you can focus on helping me raise our child." I gripped the blanket. "Why are you everywhere? Are you stalking me?" Clara laughed wickedly. "I only came to admire my handwork. I'm not happy you survived the accident when I gave them clear instructions, but at least now you can't have any child for Ethan." My chest tightened, and before I could stop myself, I yanked her hair, tears rolling down my cheeks. "How could you? Isn't it enough you've killed my son? What more do you want?" "Help!" Clara cried out. The door opened suddenly as Ethan walked in with the doctor, their eyes going wide in disbelief. "It's barely 24 hours and you're attacking her again?" Ethan snapped, pushing me roughly. I fell from the bed as my back hit the edge of the bed, ripping my stitches open, and I started bleeding again. "Ethan," I whispered. "She did this to me. She sent the people who ran me down." He cut me off. "Stop lying. I'm tired of your antics." I froze.
What?
"I caught the man who hit you," he said, tossing a file onto my bed. He confessed. "You paid him to hit you. I'm so disgusted by you I can't even look at you right now." I stared at him, horrified. "That's not true. You think I'd do that to myself?" Ethan scoffed. "Of course you would. You'd do anything for attention." I stared at him, my mouth hanging open with shock, but before I could speak he continued. He stepped closer, his voice low and cruel. "How low are you willing to go for attention, Adeline? You've lost your mind. Clara has done everything to make you feel better, but you keep attacking her. How evil can you be?" "I lost my child, Ethan," I cried. "And now?" He turned away before I could finish. "Enough. Clara's baby shower is tonight. Try to act like a decent human being for once. Help her get ready." Clara leaned close, smiling sweetly. "Don't worry, Adeline. I'll make sure Ethan saves you a slice of cake." The door slammed behind him as he left with a smirking Clara. I sat there, staring at the hospital gown that was now stained with blood. My hands trembled as my phone buzzed beside me. It was a message from Mr. Heiress, my lawyer. "Divorce papers have been delivered." A tear slipped down my cheek, the last one I'd ever cry for Ethan Morales. Adeline's POV. A few hours after Ethan stormed out of my hospital room, I was discharged. The doctor stared at me with pity shining in his eyes. "Please, Mrs. Morales, you have to take it easy. Anything else that happens from here, your life could be in serious danger," the doctor said. I didn't say a word as I signed the divorce papers, then I stumbled outside. My legs were shaking and my lower belly was in so much pain. I half expected Ethan to be waiting outside, especially since he's been blowing up my phone with text messages since reminding me to come home and help Amber. Ethan wasn't there to pick me up. Of course, he wasn't. What was I expecting from a man who had left me for dead twice? When I got home, the house was alive with laughter and clinking glasses. Blue and gold decorations hung everywhere, balloons tied to the stair rails, and a large banner stretched across the living room. "Welcome, baby Jared Morales." It took me a second to realize today wasn't just Clara's baby shower. It was also our second wedding anniversary. And yet, not a single flower, not a single glance from Ethan hinted that he even remembered. Ethan's friends who had arrived early were staring at me when I walked in, their eyes filled with mock pity as they whispered, "There she is. I can't believe she still lives here." She really thought Ethan would forget Clara? They grew up together, and he's been in love with her. I heard she lost her child, and now she's barren. Poor thing. She's so in love with Ethan, she doesn't want to leave him. Each word sliced through me like glass, but I kept walking, not sparing them a glance. When I reached the grand hall, Clara stood in the middle, radiant in a silk blush gown, glowing with the fullness of pregnancy. Ethan stood beside her, adjusting her shawl, his expression soft, almost worshipful. I had seen him look at me that way once. Now it felt like a lifetime ago. Adeline, Ethan said curtly, barely sparing me a glance. You're home. Clara's shower starts in an hour. Make sure everything is ready. My voice came out low and steady. Of course. I wouldn't want to ruin your big day. He frowned, clearly irritated, but before he could speak further, Clara turned to me with that syrupy smile that hid venom. Oh, Adeline, you're just in time. The cake and gifts are ready, but I'm missing one small detail. Could you please prepare something for me to eat? She asked. I frowned. There are a lot of maids here. Get one of them to do it. Oh, it's just you make really good meals for pregnancy, so I just thought. Never mind, I'll get one of the maids, Clara said, feigning sadness. Ethan stopped her as he turned to me. You have nothing else to do, Adeline. Make yourself useful and prepare a meal for her. I limped toward the kitchen when Clara's voice sounded. Adeline, please be a darling and help me get the files for Ethan to sign. He promised to give me a new car today, and I've arranged the paperwork. I went to the desk and saw the paperwork of the car. It was the Lamborghini I've been telling Ethan to buy for me, but yet he didn't get it now. He's gotten it for Clara with a customized plate number. I scoffed and slipped the 2 documents into the car paperwork and took it to Ethan, who signed all the documents without reading them. At least even if you're barren now, you're still useful in the office, Ethan said in a cutting tone. I bit back the tears and took the documents to the kitchen. I removed the divorce papers and the assets transfer he had signed and smiled. Just a few more days, and I'll be out of this hellhole forever. By the time the guests arrived, the house sparkled like a palace. Music played softly, and laughter bounced off the marble walls. Clara was everywhere, glowing, adored, and surrounded. I stood at the back, half invisible. Ethan's mother, Mrs. Morales, swept into the room in a flowing gown, her pearls gleaming. Clara, my dear, she exclaimed, kissing her cheek. You look stunning. Look at that belly. Finally, a grandchild. Her sharp eyes landed on me. Adeline, you're back. Yes, mother, I said quietly. She sniffed, her lip curling. You should have stayed in the hospital. You'll only bring bad luck here. You couldn't even keep a child alive, yet you want to stay in this family? Clara placed a gentle hand on Mrs. Morales' arm. Don't say that. Adeline didn't mean for the accident to happen. Mrs. Morales sighed dramatically. You're too kind, Clara. A barren woman like her should learn humility. It's no surprise Ethan lost interest. Men need heirs, not bad omens. Laughter rippled through the crowd. I clenched my fists so tightly my nails bit into my palms. My son didn't die because I'm barren, I said, my voice trembling. He died because your son killed him. The room fell silent. Ethan's jaw tightened. Adeline. She did it. I shouted, pointing at Clara. She told you to take my stem cells for her. You killed our child to save her. Gasps echoed through the hall. For a moment, Ethan looked uncertain. Then Clara flinched, covering her mouth, her eyes wide with fake tears. I can't believe you'd say that, she whispered. I never wanted this. Ethan, please, don't let her ruin today. Enough, Adeline, Ethan said coldly. You're embarrassing yourself. This is Clara's day, not your pity show. I took a step back, tears burning my eyes. Do you even remember what today is? He blinked, confused. What are you talking about? Our anniversary. There was silence, then laughter followed as Mrs. Morales and some of the guests snickered, including Clara's friends. Clara smiled faintly. Oh, I didn't know. You poor thing. I guess the dates got mixed up. Mrs. Morales chuckled. Don't start drama, Adeline. This is a celebration of life, not of your mistakes. I felt my throat close. Before I could say another word, Clara suddenly gasped, clutching her stomach. Ethan, my baby. Ethan rushed to her side immediately. Clara, what happened? Between sobs, she whispered. It's Adeline. She served me food earlier. I think it had peanuts. I told her I'm allergic. The room erupted in chaos. Guests murmured, eyes turning toward me with disgust. What kind of woman does that? She's jealous. She wants to harm the baby. Adeline. Ethan shouted, fury flashing across his face. What did you do? If anything happens to Clara or my child, you'll regret it for the rest of your life. My lips parted, but no sound came out. I wanted to scream that it was all a lie, but no one would listen. He scooped Clara into his arms and turned away without another glance. I'm taking her to the hospital. Don't follow us. The door slammed behind him. I stood alone in the hall, surrounded by their laughter fading down the driveway. The guests avoided my gaze, whispering like vultures as they filed out of the house. I looked at the cake, the decorations, the roses, all celebrating the woman who had taken everything from me. My hands shook as I touched the envelope on the table, the one holding his signed papers. A bitter smile curved my lips. Happy anniversary, Ethan, I whispered. You just signed your empire away. Adeline's POV. The next morning, I woke up to the sound of footsteps. Heavy, angry ones. The door slammed open. Ethan stepped in, his expression cold, followed by two of his guards. Take her, he said flatly. My heart raced. Ethan, what are you doing? He didn't answer. The guards grabbed me, dragging me out of the room. I struggled, crying out his name, but he only stared ahead. They shoved me into the old storage room at the far end of the house. Dust filled the air. My knees hit the floor. This is punishment, Ethan said, standing in the doorway. For what you did to Clara last night. I didn't do anything, I shouted. She's lying. Enough. His voice cut through me like glass. You'll stay here until you learn to control yourself. He threw something into the room. It was a bouquet of lilies. My throat tightened immediately. He knew I was allergic. Ethan, please, I gasped. Not this, you know I can't. You should have thought about that before hurting Clara. His tone was cold. Maybe this will teach you to behave. Then the door slammed shut. I pounded on it until my hands hurt, tears blurring my vision. My chest burned as the air thinned. I could barely breathe. I fell to the floor, clawing weakly at the door, my lungs screaming for air. After what felt like forever, the door opened. I collapsed onto the hallway floor, coughing violently. Ethan stood over me, his expression unreadable. If you ever touch Clara again, Adeline, he said slowly, I swear, you'll regret it. He turned and walked away. I lay there for a long time, shaking. Then my phone buzzed beside me. I fumbled to answer. Sweetheart. My mother's voice came through, soft and worried. Your father booked your flight. 2 days from now. Come home, Adeline. Please. My lips trembled. I'll come, I whispered. I promise. When the call ended, I sat there staring at the wall. Something inside me broke completely. I dragged myself up, went to my room, and pulled out the box from under my bed. Inside were the memories of a life that no longer existed. Wedding photos, love notes, Ethan's first gift to me, the tiny blue blanket I'd bought for our son. One by one, I threw them into the fireplace. The photos curled and blackened. The smell of burnt paper filled the air. I watched until nothing remained but ash. I went back to the bedroom and started packing my clothes and documents into my box. When I turned around, Ethan was standing by the door. His face was hard, his eyes cold. So, you're packing already, he said. Good. When Clara comes back, she'll move into the master bedroom. The guest room makes her uncomfortable. You can stay there. I said nothing. He frowned. I'm glad you're finally seeing things my way. Maybe you're not as useless as I thought. I turned back to my suitcase. Is that all, Ethan? He ignored me and continued. Clara's in the hospital. She needs a blood transfusion. You'll come with me. I froze. No. I'm not donating anything to her. His jaw tightened. You'll do as I say. When I didn't move, he grabbed my arm and pulled me along. You owe her for everything she's endured because of you. When we arrived, the doctor hesitated the moment he saw me. His eyes flicked from my pale face to the needle tray on the table. Mr. Morales, he began carefully, your wife isn't in any condition for this. Her blood levels are critically low, and she's still recovering from. Ethan's glare cut him off. Do I look like I care? Clara's life is on the line. Do it. The doctor shifted uncomfortably. If I take more blood from her, she might. Do it. Ethan snapped, his voice echoing across the sterile white room. The doctor's hands shook slightly as he inserted the needle into my arm. The cold sting of metal pierced my skin, and crimson began to flow into the transparent bag. The sound of the drip was too loud. Ethan stood by the wall, his arms crossed. Hurry it up, he said flatly. Minutes passed. My vision started to blur. The room tilted slightly, and the doctor's voice sounded distant. That's enough. She's at her limit. Clara's shrill voice cut through the air. Ethan, help. It hurts. There's nothing, the doctor started to say, but Ethan interrupted him. Take more, he barked at the doctor. The doctor froze. Sir, if we take more blood. She could. I said take more. Ethan thundered. The doctor's face was pale as he obeyed. The needle dug deeper, and I gasped. My chest hurt, my skin was clammy, but the worst pain was watching Ethan hold Clara's hand as I bled for her. Ethan, I whispered weakly. Please stop. He didn't even turn. He stroked Clara's hair and murmured, It's okay. You'll be fine. Don't cry. Each drop of blood felt like a piece of me leaving forever. My lips turned numb, my body trembling violently. The doctor tried once more. Mr. Morales, she's going into shock. She's faking it. Ethan snapped coldly. She always does this when she wants attention. My vision darkened. The beeping from the monitor became frantic. I could barely breathe. Suddenly, the doctor shoved Ethan aside and pulled the tube out of my arm. That's enough, he shouted. You'll kill her. Blood splattered across the sheet. I slumped back, my body shaking uncontrollably. Get her stabilized, the doctor barked at the nurses. The last thing I saw before the world went black was Ethan holding Clara close as she whimpered. I'm sorry, Ethan, this is all my fault, she cried. It's not your fault. Adeline is just being dramatic as always, Ethan said coldly. I stared at the man who had once promised to protect me as he glared at me like I was a stranger. Then I gave in to the darkness. Adeline's POV. When I opened my eyes, everything was white. For a moment, I thought I was dead. Then I saw Ethan sitting beside my bed. His head was bowed, his fingers running through his hair. He looked tired, like he's been sitting there all night. You're awake, he said quietly, his voice thick. You've been unconscious for 2 days. I stared at him, saying nothing. He sighed and looked away. I didn't know it would get that bad. I panicked. Clara needed a blood transfusion and I wasn't thinking. I didn't mean for you to suffer. The words meant nothing to me now. He continued softly. I realize I've neglected you lately. I didn't even remember our anniversary. I've been distracted. I want to make it up to you. He reached for a paper bag beside him and set it on the bed. There's a dress in there. When you're discharged, my driver will take you to dinner. I've made reservations at your favorite restaurant. I just stared at the bag. He forced a small smile. Try to look beautiful again, Addie. He leaned in, brushed his lips against my forehead, and left. The door closed behind him, and the room went silent. I sat up slowly, my body still sore, and checked my phone. There was a text from my father. Your flight is at 9 p.m. tonight. My men will pick you up. I'm tracking your phone now. 2 hours after my last dinner with Ethan. A hollow laugh escaped my lips. The doctor came in not long after. You're being discharged today, Mrs. Morales, he said, avoiding my eyes. Mr. Morales has already paid the bills. Of course he has, I murmured. He handed me my papers and left. 2 nurses came in with a dress box and a bouquet of white roses, my favorite flowers. I stared at them until one nurse awkwardly said, Mr. Morales said these are your favorites. I scoffed under my breath. A few days ago, I might have smiled. Today, I wanted to throw them out the window. I dressed quietly. The red satin dress fit perfectly, as if he still remembered my size, but not who I was. When the driver came to get me, I followed silently. The car glided through the city as the sky turned gold with the setting sun. At the restaurant entrance, the waiter led me to a private table. When I got to the table, I saw Ethan smiling at me, and beside him was Clara? Clara looked radiant, dressed in soft ivory, her hands resting on her round belly. Ethan looked slightly uneasy, but smiled when he saw me. Addie, I'm sorry, he began, standing. Clara didn't want to be alone tonight. She's been anxious lately. I couldn't just leave her. Of course, I said flatly, taking my seat. You could never leave her. Ethan cleared his throat awkwardly. Let's not fight tonight. He reached into a small box and took out 2 necklaces. He handed me one.
Un cristal pendant.
My breath caught. It was almost identical to the one Clara had broken. Inside was my baby's ultrasound. I got this made for you, he said softly. I thought maybe it would remind you of him. For a brief second, my heart trembled. Then he turned and brought out another necklace of the same design, but Clara's glittered brighter, lined with real diamonds. He clasped it around Clara's neck as she giggled softly. Clara smiled sweetly, holding hers up to the light. It's beautiful, Ethan. You have such good taste. I don't need reminders of something I'll never have again, I said quietly, setting the necklace back on the table. Adeline. I said I don't need it. I repeated, my tone sharper. He sighed and tried to change the subject, asking about my health, the house, meaningless things. I answered in short, cold words. Clara, meanwhile, filled the silence with stories about their childhood, about how Ethan used to sneak into her backyard, how they used to play piano together. Each story she told was deliberate and supposed to get a rise out of me, but I ignored her. Ethan smiled faintly through all of it, occasionally glancing at me, as if hoping I'd join in. I didn't. Then, suddenly, the smell of gas hit me before a loud explosion followed.
Boom.
The restaurant exploded. The lights shattered, the ground shook, and screams filled the air. A blast of heat threw me backward, slamming me into the far end of the room. I hit the floor hard, pain surging through my body as debris rained down. Adeline. I heard Ethan shout. Ethan. I gasped, coughing through the smoke. Help me. Clara clutched his arm, crying. I can't move. Please, Ethan, the baby. I can't move. She wasn't hurt, not even a scratch. She was sitting perfectly upright, pretending to tremble. I blinked through the haze, watching him stand in the middle as he stared between me and Clara. Ethan's eyes flicked to me, full of hesitation, and then a cold resolve filled his eyes. Hold on, Adeline, he yelled. I'll come back for you. He scooped Clara into his arms and ran. I stared, disbelief and heartbreak tearing through me as I watched him disappear through the smoke, leaving me behind. Clara turned her head slightly in his arms and smiled at me before the flames swallowed her face. The heat grew unbearable. My lungs screamed for air. I tried to move, but debris pinned my legs. I couldn't breathe. So this is how it ends, I thought weakly. After everything, this is how my story ends. Even at the end, he still chose her. My head slumped forward. Darkness crept in. Through the haze, I saw shadows moving, for tall figures pushing through the smoke. One of them shouted, Miss Adeline?
Hold on.
Your father sent us. Their voices echoed as my vision faded. Please hang on, Miss Adeline. Then everything went black.